We're tracking some major breaking news out of Japan. The assassination of former Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. He was shot twice while delivering a campaign speech. Abe was rushed from the scene in an ambulance, and then he was transferred by medical helicopter to a hospital. Doctors say a bullet that killed him, the bullet that killed him, was deep enough to reach his heart. Let's bring in CNN senior international correspondent Will Ripley. We also have CNN international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson. Will, I don't think we can overstate how significant this is, what a shock this is to people in Japan and also to people around the world familiar with Shinzo Abe.
It's a shock on so many levels. It's a shock in that Japan's gun violence is almost non-existent. The fact that there was a homemade weapon that was kind of taped together really speaks volumes to how you walk through the streets of Tokyo or any other Japanese city and you feel safe, and politicians feel safe. To get so up and close and personal with crowds. I mean, there were social media videos posted showing Shinzo Abe just hours before he was killed, or the day before, shaking hands, doing the heart sign with people, as he was out on the campaign trail. Even after he resigned as prime minister, he was still working very hard, not only giving stump speeches like the one this morning when this happened, but also just speaking out on behalf of issues that are important to him and important to Japan, one of them being the issue of Taiwan and defending Taiwan, a self-governing democracy. And so Shinzo Abe, he was extremely influential. He was very much well-liked. The fact that he could develop a friendship with Donald Trump and take him out for hamburgers in Tokyo and play golf, and one of the first world leaders, by the way, to kind of figure out how to manage our former president in the United States, but yet also be able to, try to mend, frosty relations with China, to work around the region to give Japan a greater role. He is a big voice, a hard worker who will certainly be missed by many levels. And his death, as you said, just shocking.
Nick Robertson, he was a towering figure inside Japan, and for most of the last decade, a global leader in terms of economic power and also global stability. And to see someone like that assassinated in 2022, it really is shocking.
And it really speaks to the range and number of tributes and the speed with which they've come in and the heartfelt nature of those tributes from Taiwan, from Singapore. Look at Australia. We've had two former prime ministers, Malcolm Turnbull, Scott Morrison, and the current prime minister there, Anthony Albanese, all, offering their condolences and talking about their sadness about this. But I think, look, Abe was very big on the world stage. He had decided to sort of expand not only Japan's defense posture, its defense forces, and that didn't go down so well inside Japan, but he was a man, as we've heard from Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who was a man of vision. And I use that particularly carefully and particularly precisely here, because Shinzo Abe, taking Japan on the world stage, just think about it. When he was Prime Minister 2012-2020, in the first 2 years, he visited almost 50 different countries. So he gave Japan a bigger global role and a stronger defense force. The vision part is because that's exactly what partners like the United States began to need as relationships with China worsened. And this divided sort of global situation between the United States, China on one side, Japan was very firmly a good ally and becoming an increasingly strong ally here in Europe. Hence the strength of statements that we've heard from Jens Stoltenberg, the Secretary General of NATO, saying that he was a true Democrat. What does that really mean in practical terms? Well, it meant at this latest NATO meeting, where Japan is not a member, it had a seat at the table. It was invited to Madrid, the Prime Minister invited to Madrid to join other NATO leaders because of Japan's strong role, and value as part of an alliance where NATO, United States, European partners saw China for the first time as a threat to value and security and stability. So in this way, Abe did prepare Japan for an outsized and bigger international role than it had had for many, many decades. And it came at a time when the world needed it. So I think this is why we're seeing such an outpouring of support. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, talking about him this morning, saying he was a champion of multilateralism. He really was a big leader that walked with a large footprint on the world stage.
Yeah, and that's why this is a shock on so many levels. Nick, Will, thank you to both of you.